Demario was another tough ending for the Saints this year, and it's been painful the last couple of seasons. How do you move on as a player?
Yeah, I think so much of it is about, your process. And, when things don't go the way you want it, you can't change your process. Just like when things go well for you, you don't change your process, So there can't be any drop off. There can't be any like, oh, I'm gonna just try to ramp it up. Like if your process is right, then more times than not things will go well for you. And we've been really close for 2 years in a row, or the 2 years that I've been there. We've had all the right pieces. We just got to try to find a way to make that play, down the stretch when we need to make them. We've proven that we can do it many times and in many games. But it's almost like when we need it most, we just got to find a way to do it. And, just knowing that we're right there, just got to keep swinging.
I heard Emmanuel Sanders say that he watched the Super Bowl 5 or 6 times in the few days after the Niners lost. So what about you? Do you go back? Do you watch the game? Do you see what went wrong? Or do you just turn off football altogether?
No, I mean, I stepped away from it for a little bit. I had to, just emotionally, it's kind of hard. But I think at the same time, the longer you go, the more that mystique kind of builds up. And so you have to face it. It's like one of those situations where you kind of have to stare right down the barrel of the gun. And, the hardest defeats are also the room for the most growth. I think you just have to be honest with yourself, look in your mirror and see, like, what could I have done to be better? And if everybody takes that approach, then you come out of it stronger. But you have to be willing to do that. And so I watched that game. I watched the Minnesota game, but lost probably more than I watched any other game, during the season. And so it was hard. It was hard to kind of go through that, and it's hard to watch it just because you know the end result. And so it's like kind of watching a movie that you want to see, but you know how it's going to end. It's going to hurt every time. And so it was painful, but it had to be done, and I think I'm better for it.
I know it's an individual honor and not the team goals that you hope to achieve, but what does it mean to you, Demario, to be among a group of Saints who are first-team All-Pro?
Just a huge blessing. It's a huge blessing. You put so much time into your craft, and everybody plays the game to be the best in some regard. But it's really hard to get there, and so with all the work, it's good to have the validation of your peers. I think so many years, especially like the past 3 years, I felt like I could have been in that conversation, but at the same time I wasn't, and I didn't let that make or break me. All I did was just use it as fuel to go further. And this year being able to have that milestone, at the same time I don't feel like it makes or break me, but it just adds more motivation because it just shows me like if I put my work in, I can achieve any milestone that I set out for myself. And I do think this also, I have to commend the environment. I mean, when you have a coach like Sean Payton and the defensive coaches I had like Dennis Allen and Mike Nolan, and then playing with a lineup of so many stars on the same team, it can't help but help you to perform at your highest level.
That's a tremendous honor. Congratulations. We're spending a few minutes with Saints All-Pro linebacker Demario Davis. It's After Hours on CBS Sports Radio. Demario, I got to tell you, one of the things that impresses me most about you is that you do not miss a game. Ever. Your entire career, you've been able to play in every single game going back to the very beginning. It's hard enough to stay healthy, but to be active and effective, how do you do it week after week after week?
I mean, first of all, I can't take all the credit for that. First, I got to give credit to God, really. So much of just staying healthy is just blessing and luck, because any of us we play the most dangerous game on the planet, so any of us can be put in a compromising situation at any moment, and no matter what you've done, it could go wrong and you could be hurt. I think when you come into this game, they tell you injuries 100%, so it's not if, but when. And so I have to praise God for just protecting me, and the angels protecting me, first of all. But then I think so much of it is I've been blessed with a tremendous team. I've been blessed, and going into my 9th season, I've been around a lot of solid veterans who taught me how to take care of my body. And I've been able to take a lot of the wisdom that they've given me, and now I've created, my own custom plan of how I take care of my body. I feel like I'm almost approaching some degree of mastery in that, and in how I train in the weight room, and the recovery that I'm doing on Tuesday through Saturday, and just putting myself in a situation of limiting, I guess, the amount of possibilities that I could, come up with some type of injury that could hamper me. And I think so much of it is conditioning as well.
How do you feel about a 17-game regular season schedule?
I think it's a real possibility that we could come to that. It just depends on our guys and the CBA and what kind of deal that they negotiate. I trust the guys on our end. I know that to do whatever is best for all interests. I think it's not about us adding a game, but it's almost about when you have to have that extra game, because some people are playing 17 games right now and some people are only playing 16, and some playing 19. So it just, it's not that the body can't do it. I think it's just all about like how that best gets accomplished and whatever's going to be best for the game.
Well, that's an interesting point that no one has ever made to me before. You do want to be playing 17 games in the postseason, so I guess if you look at it that way, it's not so different. Demario Davis of the New Orleans Saints with us here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. We don't know yet about your quarterback, Drew Brees, whether or not he will continue to play football. But from a defensive perspective, Demario, how do you begin to game plan or to limit what he can do on the field if you're facing him?
Well, first of all, you're talking about one of, if not arguably, the best quarterback to ever play the game. I mean, he has literally every passing record that you can own, career, season, from a number standpoint, but also from an efficiency standpoint. And so when you think about that, it just tells you the level of accomplishment that he's achieved for himself and inside this game. And that's just a level of mastery that isn't easily accomplished. If there was, a lot more people would be done in the game what he's done. And I think what makes him dynamic is he's so such a forward-thinking person and such, I guess what you would call a visionary of sorts, and has such photographic memory that he can play games many times before they ever take place. And so he's almost thought about every scenario that can happen inside of a game before they happen. And that allows him to be, 2 and 3 steps ahead of his opponent. And so that's what makes him dynamic. And I don't think that skill set that he's blessed with, and the fact that he is a relentless, hard-working perfectionist of sorts, I think, when you match that talent with that work ethic, it just creates the results that you have in Drew Brees.
And the entire NFL awaits Drew's decision. Demario, it's the off season. You get to spend more time with your kids. You've got a whole budding basketball team under the age of 6 years old. So tell me this, when in the world did you have time to write a book?
It just kind of came up, but last year, I was approached by a writer about writing a book. And, I kind of wondered about it at first, and then I thought, man, I think my story can help a lot of people, so why not? And so we went for it, and now it's here, which is amazing.
It's called The Unsuccessful Champion, and not only do I think the title is extremely unique, but your story is as well. People look at athletes and think lots of money, lots of fame, lots of attention, this really great life, but your path was difficult at times, and you went through a really long and winding road to get to where you are. Why was it so important for you to tell your story?
Well, I think on several fronts. One, I wanted to help anybody that was going through some form of adversity to realize that, there's power in perseverance and just, continuing to go forward. But also, I think for the fans of the game, they do need to understand that an athlete is so much more. When people wonder why an athlete is more than an athlete, think about where a lot of these players are coming from and the hardships the routes that they have to take to get there. Yeah, it's easy to look at an athlete and be like, why are they complaining or why are they upset about this when they have, money or success? But that person wouldn't always, have all that money or have all that success. I mean, many of these athletes come from, very, very dark places. And the fact that they have come from those places and have achieved success, they deserve as much credibility or more credibility to be able to speak on a lot of range and different issues because their life has gone through such dramatic changes in range.
You write about being poor as a kid and getting in with some of the wrong people, doing drugs, ending up in jail, and how that was rock bottom for you. What was the turning point? What was the point at which you were able to start to rise and to get out of that life?
Yeah, I've been able to see both sides of the coin. I guess the best and worst of both worlds, of having a lot and having a little, and doing right and doing wrong. And I think I was headed down a deadly path. It landed me in jail. It got me expelled from school. Almost died. I've had several of those type of incidents, and I think none of that was really getting my attention. It wasn't until a guy started spending one-on-one time with me, my college chaplain, started spending one-on-one time with me and mentoring me of sorts, and just asking me about my life and asking me harder questions, faith questions about, my relationship with God and what that actually looked like, what the life of a Christian really looked like. And he just challenged me with a lot of stuff. I was kind of raised in the church, so I always kind of knew who God was. But when he started spending me one-on-one time with me and asking me those tougher questions, it really made me reflect. But then he started giving me verses in the Bible that I could go home and reflect on. And those Bible verses, really challenged me. Upon hearing a lot of that stuff, I came to the realization that, I was living in wickedness, and the only way that was going to change is if God gave me a new heart. I was going to be a person that constantly got in my own way, because all this was coming from my heart that was rooted in sin, and I needed something to change. And literally, at spending time with him and going to some conferences, I prayed for a new heart. And all of a sudden, I went to this conference one day, and this was probably over a couple of months. And all of a sudden, something switched in me. All of a sudden, I now desired to live outside of myself. Life was no longer just about Demario Davis and what he wanted, but life was now all of a sudden about, man, I want to know who this amazing God is who can change hearts. And I want to know how I can help other people find out about this amazing God who can work in them like he's worked in me. And so, no longer was my life about, myself. It was about other people.
Well, that story puts a huge smile on my face. So often it's about someone taking the time to come alongside and reach out a helping hand. Demario Davis is not only a Saints All-Pro linebacker, but a brand new author. It's called Unsuccessful Champion, his personal journey to get to where he is now. Demario, knowing that it took someone investing in you and helping you and speaking into your life, is that something you want to do now moving forward with other people?
Yeah, I think we're all called in some form or fashion to go out and make disciples. That's what the word calls us to do. And so we should always be mentoring or discipling or helping somebody grow in their relationship, just like the guy helped me. And, that's what our foundation does. We get to do that in Mississippi on a large scale. We work about 100 kids a year, and we're mentoring, kind of taking them through middle school all the way up to high school, helping them physically, spiritually, and mentally. And I think that's what our life should resemble. No matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm doing it, that's all just a platform. When I'm playing football, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm at a doctor's office, no matter what we're doing, I think all of our lives in some form or fashion should be mentoring or discipling somebody else, helping them get to the next level.
The title is Unsuccessful Champion. But where did that title come from, Demario?
Yeah, and that's I think that's my life mantra, Unsuccessful Champion. I've experienced a lot of defeats here on this side of earth. And, many times I've been close to success, but came up just short. I mean, you look at this year, I came up short of the Pro Bowl. We came up short of the Super Bowl when many thought we were going to win it. So a lot of people would say that's unsuccessful. But my success isn't determined on earthly wins. I'm a champion because I'm a child of God. So I've already won. I'm victorious in every setting. So that's really what that title means. And it's no matter if I win or lose, and what people would call success and unsuccess, I'm always a champion because I've really won before it ever started, because of what Christ did for me.
I can't wait to read it. Again, it's called The Unsuccessful Champion, available on Amazon. I just saw it. Demario Davis, Saints All-Pro linebacker. It's so good to spend a couple of minutes with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You be blessed. Thank you so much.